There's a crazy lady here in my town, and the crazy part about her is that she just keep talking to herself as if there's no one else over there. And she's probably in her 50s, and she will show up in the burger joints or local McDonald's, and she will bring a huge bag of things, and she will put her things on the table, and she holds one Bible. Sometimes she reads Bible. However, most of the time she's just sitting alone and talking to herself. And she talks in a way that as if she's talking to an entity, and she keeps bubbling. And usually I don't eardrop what people are saying, right? I focus on my things. But she's doing this kind of all the time, and she's kind of loud. So I would listen to what she's talking about. It's all about who betrayed her, what made her unhappy, what made her despair, who did wrong to her, who betrayed her, and why she's all miserable, and what she hates about certain people in her life, or what she's unhappy about the things around her. I didn't pay attention to the detail, but the main themes is basically like this. And sometimes she'll stop and start reading Bible and take notes. She's got the notebook by her. She'll handwrite notes, and then she'll fall back to her habitual situation. She'll continue to talk to herself. And the weird thing is, besides of the self-talking, she's behaving like a normal person. For example, she has no trouble going to the counter and order herself a drink. She has no trouble paying people or saying thank you when she pays, or when the waitress helps her. And she doesn't, break the law. She just follows most of the social norms of people follow. She doesn't have like confrontation with other people. It's one weird thing is that she just keeps talking to herself, right? And this is a funny situation and realization for me, because since I started making YouTube videos of myself talking, and in my second language, right? English is my second language, and I wanted to get better at it, but I don't have much time. I got work to do, I got commute, I got responsibilities. So I made a rule for myself. Whenever I enter my vehicle, I would just start talking in English, and I would just improvise whatever comes to my mind, and I will just keep on talking as if I'm talking to someone. This is a practice for me. And somehow this old lady came to my memory, and I thought, am I just acting like the old lady? Am I crazy? Am I lunatic? But I will just keep on doing this, since I really wanted to get better at, at communicating in English, and communicating on what I find interesting, and I would share. I would just encourage myself to continue talking. And I was wondering, what is the differences between me and the crazy little lady? Because For her, it seems like there is a certain thinking patterns that keeps repeating to herself. Maybe that's her life situation. Maybe that's what she has been experienced, and she was like holding on to these experience, to these other people's comments, to these unhappiness. She holds on to it, and she keeps repeating that. Maybe the words are slightly different, but the events or her attitude, her mindset, her despair are basically the same. She's just repeating the same pattern. And for me, even though I'm talking to myself, I'm just trying to generate something new. And yes, I'm sharing from my life experience as well, but I want to bring value, to bring new insights to people who subscribe to my channel, to people who are interested in what I'm sharing. Probably that is the only difference, but from extreme, from the eternal viewpoint, we are basically the same thing. We are just basically talking to ourselves. Which brings me to another point, is that I think to be able to think, the thinking mind is a superb capability, and only we as human beings have these capabilities. And we use this tool all the time, right? We use our brain, we use this talking voice to help us think better, to make judgment, and to evaluate things, to calculate things. And we got so used to it. This voice keeps talking. The inner monologue, or for some people, it could be like two voices communicating to each other, but only silently, right, in our mind. And we got so used to it, and we thought that's totally normal, right? And our difference with the crazy lady is that she is speaking out loud of her inner monologue. But for us, we thought we are superior, I assume. So we just keep the voice in our head. But basically, we are having the same human experience. It's just one speaks out loud and one keep it to ourselves. And I think the over identification with the voice in our head could be something that drives her crazy, because she identifies with all the emotions or all the thinking patterns inside her head so heavily. It becomes her default mode. It becomes her entity, right? So she's always like speaking about she takes that talking voice as if that is just her. So she's trapped in that confined jail, right? The mental jail. And she totally identifies with it. But I think for a person to stay sane, for a person to enter a better status of consciousness, is to deeply recognize that we are not the voice. The voice in our head, the talking voice, is a tool. Just like the screwdriver or the iPhone or the computer, right? We wouldn't say, hey, I'm the screwdriver, right? We would say we use the screwdriver to do things, to make things. And we never say, hi, I am the iPhone, right? I'm the latest, iPhone or latest Android phone. No, the phone is the phone. The phone is a tool, and we utilize that tool to help us achieve things, to help us do things, right? And I think the talking head, it's basically the same thing. And it is a human tool that only we have. Other animals probably don't have it, right? If you find a dog that think to itself and talk to itself, hey, let me know. I would be really happy to see the dog. But The talking head, the talking voice in our head is just a tool, and it comes out of nowhere. Have you discovered that you never have much control over it, right? What thoughts would pop up in your mind? What inspiration, sometimes in a good way, or maybe sometimes it's the old life experience that you want to get away, you want to run away from. They just come back to your brain without any reason and randomly, even before you go into sleep, like a social encounter that made you unhappy like 3 years ago. Suddenly it comes back to your mind, and you was like, I should have said something different. I should have said that time, right? This is just like random machine, random generator, random thought generators, and the brain is out of control. So this is like a tool, like water or fire. They can help you and they can harm you. Depends on how you use the tool. So we all need to learn to disidentify ourselves from the tool's identity, but rather the master's identity. We as masters will utilize these tools to help us to achieve things. So that's probably what I learned from this crazy lady